Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Red Shirts. Now, on the last episode, which I like to call part one of our social justice warrior trilogy, we did a review of The Host. And we got into some deep topics, particularly the controversial ending. So now this episode, which let me just say that we recorded this episode back in March of 2019, and I just never got around to editing it or posting it up. But it fits right perfectly as number 2 in our social justice warrior trilogy. In this episode, we review TNG's Lessons, where Captain Picard embarks on a romance with Lieutenant Daren, Nella Daren. And in reviewing this episode, I come up with the premise that is Captain Picard guilty of sexual harassment? Now, my premise doesn't go over very well with the rest of my crew, but I'll let you take a listen, I'll let you be the judge, and be on the lookout for part 3. But until then, enjoy this lost episode of The Red Shirts.
The planet is restless, Captain. They want their podcast, and they shall have it. I'll beam down to the surface. You have the bridge. Captain, that is illogical. These are Trek fans. They will challenge and dissect your knowledge with great emotion. It is a mission fraught with danger, peril, and grave risk. Suggestions? Send in the Red Shirts.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the third leg of this voyage with special guest host Davette See. Hey, now, listen. This is kind of like a union shop. If you do more than 2 episodes, you got to get you have to be commissioned, all right? So, I'm trying to think if I should make you a lieutenant or lieutenant commander. I got to confer with the only other person on the crew, Commander Big Sexy. What do you think, sir?
No one transfers to a new ship. No one. And is afforded command status.
You
must earn this.
Wow. Well,
Lieutenant bars, no problem. But command status, you gotta earn that one.
Well, you heard what he said, Davette, right?
Uh-huh.
So I hope that influences you who to agree with on our discussion that we're going to have. But I'm afraid, much like Riker did in Best of Both Worlds, how he did Data so dirty. He said, I was thinking about promoting you to first officer, Mr. Data, but I think we need to have all the crew stay where they are. But I'm going to promote Shelby anyway. So I got to go with making her a commander. I got to go with it. And I'll tell you why. Big Sexy, don't leave the ready room until I say you can. Get back in here, officer. Come back in here.
Don't make me catch you in the holodeck after hours, Captain.
Oh, wow. Okay. I have to make her first officer because she is just like Shelby, suitable. And that's not the word I want to use. That's insulting. Seriously.
Suitable?
Yeah, that's not the right word. She is, there's a term. I have to make her first officer because she is aptly able to address the mission that we have here today. Okay, we needed her. What do I mean? Well, one of the failings that I realized in starting this podcast is that it's three guys. There's no female perspective, and today's topic I think demands a female perspective. What's the term, Davette? Mansplaining? Is that what we got here? Is that what it is?
Whoa. Don't even put that on me.
We would have been some mansplaining dudes here. So I had to have, and plus we're short. We're down one of our crew members, Mr. Craig J., who was off in some underground cavern trying to spy on the Cardassians. I hope he didn't get caught. I told him there's always 4 lights. Anyway, I needed, no one got that? Okay, I'll insert the laugh track. I'll insert the laugh track.
There.
Okay.
And Commander Shelby was a pain in the ass.
All right, enough of that. This ought to be interesting. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. A lot of women that you got issues with, Big Sexy.
Whoa, flag on the play. Don't even put that out there by implication, man.
Okay, all right.
Shelby was a pain in the ass. That's gender neutral. Pain in the ass.
Yeah, you do like 7 because of the tight costume, right? All right, let me stop.
I'm sorry, wasn't it you who said something about Jolene Blaylock and her bare midriff?
You guys really need
Now get out my face.
Hang on.
Need a female perspective.
You mentioned Jolene Blaylock's midsection. I'm gonna need 5 minutes. Hold on. No, let me stop.
I think we're done. I think I win.
Okay.
Go out of yourself.
All right. Anyway. So, what is today's topic? Let me get back on track here. Let me just address that, and we'll close the door on that. We all know that Hoshi was far hotter than T'Pol. We all know that, right?
And again,
Hoshi?
this is Captain.
If I might offer a female perspective, I would say Hoshi was in fact quite hot, as it were.
What? Okay. Anyway. All right. Okay. We could get into the whole maybe some people think Asians are hot by nature, but yeah, we're not gonna go there.
Oh no.
Okay.
Woof.
Send your hate mail to Qstorm.
We're not gonna go there. So, the episode we're talking about, I may be guilty of it now. Lessons. So it's season 6. So we only have one season left to go. So things are starting to wrap up on TNG. This is one of my favorite episodes of this series. I don't know. I love this episode. Before we get into it, let me get your guys' opinion overall. What did you think about the episode? I love it. I love it because of the characterizations. I love it because it shows Picard in a sensitive light. I love it because the music is so beautiful. There are 2 musical pieces that are conducted on the show. The Ressican melody, right? And they play, I think it's Brandenburg Concerto in Picard's quarters. I love the music. It's so heart-pulling, heart-tugging. Is that the word? And we get to see Picard get into a relationship. All right. Now we know he's had relationships before. Love interest like Beverly Crusher. There was Vash, right? I don't remember that episode. I think she appeared in a couple episodes. And we have Kamala. I believe that was the character's name, played by Famke Janssen, in the episode The Perfect Mate, which for me was a little bit of a problem, kind of like some of the elements in this episode as well. Having a woman who is designated to please a mate. I don't know, programmed to please a mate. Anyway. But we have Lieutenant Commander Nella Daren in this episode. And it is just such a great episode. And I'm glad the writers explored this aspect of being the most powerful man on a starship. It was written by Ron Wilkerson and Jean-Louise Matthias, directed by Robert, I'm going to pronounce it, Weimer. What did you guys think of the episode overall?
Lieutenant Commander Davette See here. I think
yes. No, you're a full commander.
I'm a commander. I'm a commander.
After some of the things I said prior, you might want to.
Yeah, okay. Commander. Anyway, okay. Overall, just without any issues to discuss about it, I give the episode really a B-.
Wow.
And I only say that because there's so many aspects of it that are predictable and kind of tropey. I mean, as far as the most enjoyable parts about it were Picard's face. I mean, really, he's such an expressive actor. Patrick Stewart is, and there was so much communicated in his face and his eyes, and just he would just it was amazing to watch him during this episode. You got to see a lot of the range that he's famous for. But as far as the storyline itself was concerned, it was fairly predictable, and there just wasn't a lot of challenge to it. But I mean, it was perfectly pleasant to watch. It wasn't awful. So that's why I say a B minus. I would say a solid B, but there are a couple of things I got to take some points off of.
Big Sexy?
I enjoyed it, and it was nice to see Picard in a relationship, but when you are the top dog and you're involved with the top dog, there are certain, and I don't mean with Picard, but there are certain other things ancillary to that have to be addressed. And I'm talking about the scene where she was talking to Commander Riker, but we'll get to that down the line.
Yeah.
But I thought the episode was good overall, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just say, one of the reasons, and I didn't mention this before because I want to kind of parse this out as we go, because I know I'm going to get an onslaught of pushback. So, one of the main reasons I like this episode, and it just hurts me that Nella Daren was only a one-time character, was that of all the women, maybe outside of Beverly Crusher, but of all the women that Picard hooked up with, I really think Daren was perfect for him. And I'll say why. Now, I watched this in preparation for this, to do this podcast a couple days ago. And I do see where people might make the argument that she is a little, I want to say uptight. I'll say that for want of a better term. But I would say that, Picard is a little uptight sometimes. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. Picard is my favorite captain. Outside of Kirk, Kirk stands alone. I don't even compare him to anybody. Okay? Picard's my favorite captain. He's a Renaissance man. He strikes me as someone who could speak on any subject with some sort of intellectual discourse. He appreciates fine music, fine dining. He can speak about historical societies. He's into archaeology. He is an erudite, classy person, right? And I find Daren to be the same way. I found that their interactions where they're playing music together is almost like the give and take of an intimate relationship before they're even intimate. There's a line that there's a bit of dialogue that they have where I'll paraphrase. It's when Daren meets Picard in his quarters. Daren tries to convince Picard that they should to relax and play the flute, and he's like, "Well, I've only played with the computer," and he says, "I'm not used to playing with someone other than the computer," and she says, "Well, I'll play with you," or something like that, and you'll enjoy it a lot more.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. You're not used to playing with anyone, are you?
Just the computer.
Well, I may not be as precise as a computer, but I think you'll enjoy it more.
And I'm like, whoa, Picard! I'm doing my George Costanza. These are the signals, Jerry. These are the signals. Okay? So, I thought Daren was sexy, smart. I loved her drive. She was passionate. She struck me as a female Picard. And I love that one scene where they show how Picard is affected by her when he approaches Riker and he says, "Number one, would you care to join me for a bout of fencing in the holodeck after hours?" And he's like, "Well, I'm not that good, Captain." And he's like, "Doesn't matter how good you are if you enjoy it."
Number one, my fencing partner's cancelled for this afternoon. I was wondering if you wanted to join me.
Fencing? I'm not really very good.
Doesn't matter, so long as you enjoy it.
Why not?
Good. Excellent. 1,400 hours then.
Remember,
yes.
That was a brilliantly written scene.
Exactly.
Pay attention, Star Trek Discovery writers.
Also brilliantly executed by Patrick Stewart. Again, what I was saying about this episode, where his range is amazing. You get to see the things that he normally doesn't get to do and how well he does them.
Exactly. So I love that character, Daren. I thought it was the first time that they, other than Crusher, they gave him a female counterpart that I just thought would work great for him. I remember there was an episode when he was on Risa, and he was in his chaise lounge trying to read. Is that how you pronounce that? If that's how you pronounce that, he was trying to read a book, and this woman, obviously, she was dressed provocatively and in a bikini with a sarong wrapped around her waist, and these women kept coming up to him, and I'm like, what? These aren't women that Picard would be interested in. So anyway, I just thought she was so classy. Now, having said that, let's get to the gravamen of my thesis here. Okay. See, Bex, see now. Oh, that reminds me, when I use erudite language like that, I use it as a tribute to you because you are an attorney. Is that correct?
The word is erudite, and yes, I am.
What did I say?
Hey, we have something in common. I have a law degree. I don't practice, but I do have a law degree.
You said erudite.
How you say it?
How do you say it? Or how did you say it?
Erudite?
Erudite.
Erudite. I said so I said erudite.
Yes.
You said it wrong. Yes.
All right. Well, I'm going to look that up. I'm going to look that up at the end of the show because I pride myself on my command of the English and French language.
Maybe your lieutenant command of the English language. Not quite full command. Like Geordi, I could like Troy did to Geordi. I could send you to scrub out those warp nacelles and pass the test. All right. Anyway, I am going to put forth that this episode, while it's one of my favorites, it's one of the lowest points in Picard's career on the Enterprise. What am I saying? Why do I say that? Years ago, and I tried to find this, what I read. I read this years ago, and I could not find it. I think it was in one of the Star Trek encyclopedias that I probably lost throughout the numerous moves that I had, or an article somewhere that put forth that in this episode, due to Picard and Daren's relationship, and due to the fact that Picard admits that he's uncomfortable, he would be uncomfortable placing Daren at risk, that it's best that if she resign her commission and find another ship to work on. Okay? And as a result of that Picard is engaging in a form of sexual harassment. Now, I know that's kind of heavy, but I made note that we have an attorney on our starship because I want to read the legal... Two. Well, one's not practicing.
Yes, but I'm still an attorney. I'm just not practicing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. So, I'm reading the legal definition of sexual harassment. Now,
according to who?
Well, it said. This is online. It says the Free Dictionary.
I wouldn't really call that the legal definition, but go ahead.
All right. Well, it's a dictionary, so it's an accepted definition. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right. So, sexual harassment: unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that tends to create a hostile or offensive work environment. Now, let's break that down. Okay. Unwelcome sexual advances. None of that happens on this episode. Requests for sexual favors. I'm sure that happens but is not unwilling on either party, the parties being Picard and Daren. Here's where I, as a non-attorney who has no licensed law degree, other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that tends to create a hostile or offensive work environment. Now, if the two attorneys will allow me to build my case, I submit that the fact that Daren, even though she offers that she will resign her commission, what other option does she have, given that she is in a relationship with a superior officer and she is a subordinate? Okay? Now, she is on the Enterprise, and I submit that if you get onto the Enterprise is the flagship of the Federation. It would be like me getting the chance to work at Skywalker Ranch or on Bad Robot. Okay? I don't know if those are good examples or not, but these guys are high in the industry. Mm-hmm. Okay? So there's no way that she wants to resign her commission from the Enterprise. But I feel that she has no other alternative because, and they even bandy this about, where Picard suggests, well, you could resign your commission as a Starfleet officer so she could get out of Starfleet and stay with him on that ship, which is kind of insulting even as a joke, I think. She says, rightfully so, or you could resign your commission as captain. And Picard, they kind of giggle at that, like, oh, well, you must be out your mind. Right? And she says, and she gets this look on her face, I'll be putting in for a transfer.
I've lost people under my command. People who were very dear to me. But never someone I've been in love with. And when I believed that you were dead, I just began to shut down. I didn't want to think or feel. I was here in my quarters. And the only thing I could focus on was my music and how it would never again give me any joy. And then I saw you standing on the transporter pad. And I knew that I could never again put your life in jeopardy.
If I stayed here, you might have to.
You could always resign your commission. Stay here with me.
And you could resign yours and come to a star base with me. I'll apply for a transfer.
And Picard doesn't say anything like, well, wait, let's see if we can work this out, or blah, blah, blah. He just nods his head, okay. And there you have it. Now, I know people will say to me, she volunteered that, but she had no other option, okay? Now, I'm going to reread this. Other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature that tends to create a hostile or offensive work environment. Two scenes I'm going to point out to you. One, the scene in the turbo lift where Picard is all over her, talking to her, getting his Mac on, right? As only a Frenchman can, a Frenchman who speaks with a British accent, okay? Then a crewman enters the turbo lift and he turns about face and treats her, I'm going to say treats her like dirt as a hyperbole, but then refers to her as, yes, Commander.
I'd heard about Corellian tenors all my life, but nothing could have prepared me for this man's voice. Soaring, incredible range. Wonderful.
I understand that there are nuances that only Corellians can pick up. We just don't have the ears for it.
I should be finished with my survey by 1100 hours.
Very good, Commander.
And he walks off the turbo lift, and you can see in her face, what did I do? You know? And I'm sure she realizes that he had to do that. But it's still, you can still see that she has some pain in doing that. Second scene, when she goes up to Riker, as you pointed this out, Big Sexy, you alluded to this, and she, as a department head, she forcefully, or not so much forcefully, passionately says to Riker,
Commander, I was hoping to talk to you about Ensign Cabot's transfer.
Quantum mechanics doesn't want to give him up.
But he wants to come to my department.
How do you know that?
I offered it to him.
Transfers are to be approved by me before any offers are made.
I'm sorry, we're just talking and...
It's all right. But Cabot should stay where he is.
Commander, please don't make that decision final. I realize I shouldn't have made the offer, but he's perfect for the job, and quantum mechanics is overstaffed anyway.
Commander, do you realize the position you're putting me in?
Well, I think I'm just doing what any good department head would do. Trying to build the best staff I can.
Look, I'll review the situation. I'll let you know as soon as I can.
and he's like, okay, I'll talk to the captain about it, or I'll take it under advisement. Now, I would say that's creating an maybe not a hostile or offensive work environment, but I'm saying it's just some level of hostility, as when you say attorney Big Sexy, you refer to a hostile witness. It doesn't mean hostile as in pugilistic or combatant, just hostile in adversarial terms. That's a hostile work environment that she is creating because of her relationship with Picard. Riker sees her as Picard's paramour, so he feels uncomfortable. That scene takes place on the bridge as well, when she approaches Riker again. And he turns around and he's like, Commander! Because she said, well, we need it today. You can have it tomorrow. But it's important. Commander! And she says, oh, okay, tomorrow. And it's so bad that Riker goes to Picard and says, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And Picard has to handle that. So Picard's, as the superior officer, all this falls at his feet. So I submit that he is engaging in a form of sexual harassment.
Are you done?
I am done.
Okay. Davette, would you like to start or shall I?
I think we may be on the same wavelength on this. So you go ahead. I've talked a lot recently.
All right.
So.
All right. First of all, Q, let's back up your train a little bit here. You keep saying he's guilty of sexual harassment. Yet both people involved here, Captain and the Lieutenant Commander, are consenting adults. At no time does Captain Picard suggest, either overtly or by implication, she do something against her will at his behest. That doesn't happen. Now, the fact that their relationship is problematic because of who he is and his position, that's a given. But it is not harassment. When she approached Commander Riker, again, she did not respect the chain of command either. She goes to Riker in the hallway, Lieutenant Commander, goes to full commander, and says, I want so-and-so on my team. And he says, but that guy's in warp dynamics or wherever he is. Yeah, but he wants out. Well, that's understandable, but that's where he is, and those decisions are made by me. Well, I want him anyway. I think you should make it happen. Hey, you know what? Let me take it under advisement. Now, underneath all that, again, we have decorum. The commander knows, okay, this lieutenant commander is close to the captain, which means I can't, let her know the real like I would with any other lieutenant commander. This is going to take some diplomacy. That's fine. And then when she did it again on the bridge, he went to the captain, which is what he should have done. So, Captain, we got a problem here. Captain handles it. Now, going back to the final scene where it was bandied about that they could both, resign their commission, I believe it was resolved, she said, to Captain Picard, you can resign yours. And they of course, giggled. And then she said, well, we can see each other on shore leave or something like that, or at star bases. So they're not broken up the way it was left to me. Okay? Now, when you're the captain, and this comes with the title, there are certain things you have to give up. And if you're having a close relationship like that is going to affect what you do and affect your decision making, that can't happen. I'm not saying he's got to be heartless, and I'm not saying he can't have a relationship, but it can't be on the same ship, and it can't be a subordinate. He understood this. So did she. They came to the decision that she, should take it somewhere else, but they're not broken up. He did not hold his captaincy over her and say, you know what, you're going to do what I tell you to do, and blah, blah, blah. No. So the fact that you keep painting it as, well, he's guilty of sexual harassment. No.
I don't recall objection. I don't recall using that voice. Like you make me sound like the Grinch.
Objection overruled because he used the same phrasing. So we're done here. Now, having said that, is it an untenable situation? Unfortunately, it was. And I was going to take a shot at the character of, Lieutenant Commander Daren, but I'm not. It was one of those things where...
I'll do that.
Oh, good. It was one of those things where their rank and their positions and their location just makes it, impossible to go, because it'll affect both of their work. And like you said earlier, Q, when you said that thing about Troy sending Geordi off to the, scrub the chambers, knowing he wasn't coming back, what if Picard was in that situation? He can't do that. And furthermore, I submit...
Why can't he do that, though?
Hold on. Because I furthermore submit in season 6 of DS9, we had a similar thing. We had Worf and his wife, Jadzia, both commanders, on a mission. She got hurt. Worf said, you know what, damn the mission, I'm taking care of my wife. He brought her back. Mission did not go well, and Cisco lit him up for failing the mission, saying that you will not pass by Commander. This is it for you. You will never be captain. And then he said, but Worf, as a husband, if that was Jennifer, I would have done the exact same thing. So I understand it. So you have to, you can't let duty and personal life intersect like that.
It sounds like you made my point. My point is, well, wait. I think Worf was in the wrong, and what I'm saying, and I'm going to let you speak, Davette, but I just want to address some things that Big Sexy said. Would that be called redirect?
If I were done, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm just going to interrupt you then. Sidebar. Sidebar.
Okay, let me stop you right there, Q.
No.
You keep throwing these legal phrases around with no clue how they work.
I'm going to throw them around. I've watched enough Greg Mathis and Judge Judy to know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Law and Order.
Dumb and Dumber, okay.
So, my point being that, one of my examples that I wanted to introduce, I'll introduce it now, is that Picard should have just sucked it up and said, I will have to put you in danger. And that is something that I will accept as your superior officer. So that is something I have to deal with. I will not allow you, I don't want you to resign your hard-earned commission to the flagship of the Federation. I know how great it is to work here. Riker knows how great it is to work here. He's been here 7 years and passed up many commissions. So there's a reason that you're here. I understand that. So I will have to deal with it.
And yet she chose to transfer.
Because she felt...
He did not tell her to transfer.
She felt coerced.
Oh, bullshit.
She felt coerced.
No, she didn't feel coerced.
Because he started off by saying, there's a line, and there's a line where he says, I realized something, and Davette, I think you're the one who saw this the most recently before we're doing the show. So correct me if I get it wrong. I'm paraphrasing. He said something like, I knew I could never, ever again put you in jeopardy. So he's throwing that out there to say, I can't allow you to ever be put in harm's way. So we got to do something about this. I'm not leaving.
Where is the coercion here?
That line, I could never again put you in harm's way. That's letting her know. That's letting her.
Where's the coercion here?
He's saying that he's intimating that since I can never put you in harm's way, you cannot be, you cannot be commanded by me. So you have to resign either.
No, she could have ended the relationship. Said, you know what, Captain? This is not going to work for these reasons, and let's just keep it moving. We both have a job to do. I'm going to stay on the ship, and
so wait. You're
It's
saying
over.
just because they end the relationship, you think, oh, well, I can send her to fight that Gorn if I need to?
Yes.
Arguably, that's exactly what happened with him and Beverly.
What do you mean?
Bing, 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 bing.
Explain. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he and Beverly have a close and, relationship, and I guess a romantic one on certain levels and a loving one. But he wouldn't hesitate to send her into danger. And I think that they made a decision at some point not to pursue their relationship, but to stay close friends. And maybe it had something to do with the fact that she was on board and she wasn't going anywhere and he wasn't going anywhere. And they knew that. Okay. So, I mean, arguably, if they wanted to continue this, they could have both agreed that they would move on and they would both stay on board. Now, I have other issues with that. I'll discuss that later. You guys continue.
Okay, I want to address something you said, and I think that I can use this term. I'd like to introduce this into evidence.
Oh, God.
I love it.
Not even close, but continue.
I don't know how that's not close. You don't know what I'm going to say. You're saying it's not even close.
Continue.
There was a scene that took place, and you know what? All the years I've seen this episode, I wish I was saying, why do they have to explain it like that? But then I heard it for the first time this time around, and I understand why they wrote this. There's a reason why they wrote what I'm about to bring up. After they play in his quarters, right? I'm sorry. No, they play in that
Jeffries tube.
Jeffries tube,
Yeah.
Right.
Jeffries tube, right.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So they finish playing in the Jeffries tube. She comes to his quarters, and he says something about, he reveals to her about the Resican flute. And I remember thinking, why did the writers feel the need to explain that? All these things don't have to be explained. But then it hit me this time. He says, I wanted to share that with you because prior to now, there was no one I could ever share my music with.
In the space of 25 minutes, I lived a lifetime on that planet. I had a wife and children and a grandchild. And it was absolutely real to me. And when I woke, all that I had left of that life was the flute that I taught myself to play.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I want you to understand what my music means to me. And what it means for me to be able to share it with someone.
Thank you.
And he says that to her because of his behavior in the turbolift. He never was that intimate. He never got to that level with Beverly. So I think this goes above and beyond his feelings for Beverly. And I say that to say, you are not going to convince me in any way, shape, or form that in this case, he could continue to send her into harm's way, given that bit of writing right there. He never said anything like that to Beverly. So yeah, he could send her.
That we know of.
Well,
That we know of.
I'm only going by what we see on screen. I mean, otherwise you can postulate any number of things that may have happened. You know.
But there's always been there's always been the intimation that they were a lot closer.
I don't disagree.
At a time where we didn't see them.
No, but all I know about their relationship is that Beverly's husband, Jack Crusher, was under his command. He gave the crew an order that led to his and possibly other people's deaths. And then when we are introduced to this crew, Beverly is assigned to the Enterprise, and there's an awkwardness there. And yeah, they have an intimate relation, not an intimate, they have a close relationship. I'm just saying, I don't think the fact that they wrote that scene, that they explained that, why they explained why Picard had played that flute and why he was so close to his music to Daren, they wrote it to let us know Picard is taking this to the very next level, even from Beverly. So I can say, yeah. I mean,
I'll concede that he forms a very strong, loving attachment to Daren that puts him in a position that he doesn't think he's been in before. So I'll go ahead.
Come on, Counselor. You got to say it. You got to say stipulate.
I'll stipulate that he cares for Daren in a different way than he does for Beverly Crusher.
Okay, and so by that token, I'm saying that it's a little disingenuous to say, even though they could just break up and he could all of a sudden now say, all right, go down to the fire traps and get the crew, go fight the Gorn, or what?
No, I mean, I don't think that. I think
the day after, of course not.
Yeah,
down
exactly.
The line, yeah, he can.
Down the line, when they're both. I mean, I honestly believe that if they were put in the same position again down the line and that kind of thing, it wouldn't be any different. I don't believe that he would sacrifice like the lives of hundreds of people or even one other person because of his affection or his love for her. Now, would it hurt him? Yes. Would he beat himself up privately about it? Yes. But would it affect his ability to command? I don't think so. I just don't think that he wanted to test that. And I don't think she wanted to test it either. I think that they both realized that there was a lot more to lose down the line for themselves and for others than there was to gain for the two of them. To continue the relationship aboard the Enterprise would have been totally and utterly selfish on both parts. But I do, I think there is something of an issue with her leaving, unfortunately leaving as opposed to staying. There's no choice there. He's not going to resign his commission. It's not going to happen. He's one of the best, if not the best captain in the fleet. So it would be more than him who would be losing. She's an excellent stellar cartographer, but she can do her job other places, and I know it sounds weird. It's like, I should be arguing, no, she shouldn't have to give up her career. She's not giving up her career. If she had resigned, if she had decided, I'm going to stay aboard the Enterprise and be your little wife and, and we can play music together and all of that. And, but I'm not going to be working at my job anymore. Then I would have an issue. All she's doing is saying, yeah, you know what? This isn't going to work. And, I have more flexibility than you to continue my career somewhere else.
But what? Don't you?
That was good.
Don't you account for the fact that she's worked hard to get to that position?
But she's not going to lose anything. Being aboard the Enterprise to do her job is something great. Yes, it's a wonderful place. It's a great ship. Uh-huh. And for a captain or to become the captain of that ship is also amazing. But she's not her job will not be limited by not being assigned to the Enterprise. If there was something that was happening aboard the Enterprise that they're saying they're going to be in a certain area of space that she needed to be there, then she could come and say, I'm going to be assigned on a limited basis to the ship because I have this to do. And there wouldn't be any problem. Hey, they'd even get to see each other, right? But she doesn't have to be a member of the crew in a way that would, maybe put her in danger to do her job. And in fact, it's kind of, this is one of my problems with the episode. They say, you could resign your commission and stay here with me. I mean, he's, saying that to her, or she's, saying the same thing. But if she's even aboard the Enterprise, she's in danger. Maybe he can't order her to put herself in danger if she's a civilian, but every time the captain ordered the ship to be destroyed or into a combat area or into a battle, every single person aboard that ship was in danger. Every man, woman, child, whether they were, Starfleet officers or what.
I see where you're going with that.
Absolutely.
I understand where you're going with that, but I think you make a point, but I think it's not comparable because there are children on that ship as well.
Yes. And they would be as dead as any officer. I'm saying that if they went into battle and the ship was destroyed, or even if the ship was damaged, I mean, civilians died on the Enterprise all the time.
But that's not the same. That's not the same as putting together an away team of 5 to 6 people and putting them in harm's way. It's totally different. It's very different.
Listen. Her job as a stellar cartographer wasn't necessarily going to put her in harm's way normally. This was just happened to be an unusual situation where something that she knew how to do, she was able to do that. It didn't, it was an unusual situation and probably one that wouldn't come up again, actually. But I'm just saying, though, it doesn't, that argument that, well, I couldn't order you, into a place where you would come to harm. I mean, then anytime they went into battle, he would be thinking, oh my God, she could die today if something happens on the ship. It doesn't, that whole thing with civilians aboard the Enterprise has always been a problem for me anyway. So I just, that's just, it never made any sense that you would put civilians in harm's way aboard a vessel that was constantly going to be put in a position where it might enter into a very dangerous situation. Civilians belong at home, period. But anyway, I digress. Go ahead. I still have my points to make. I still haven't gotten yet.
Please go. Please, go ahead and make
them. No, I want to wait and see if Big Sexy's done.
Well, I made it pretty clear that he wasn't harassing her. Right. Now, as for the character, herself, I don't like her at all. She comes on the ship, Captain Picard's up in the middle of the night trying to get his Earl Grey on, and people are tying up the computer resources. He's like, what the hell's going on? And Data says, hey, man, I'm doing some in stellar cartography. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to take a look. As the captain, I can do that. Mm-hmm. He walks in, and she gets all, yeah, get in or get out.
She doesn't know it's the captain. She doesn't know.
It doesn't matter.
She doesn't know, but
it doesn't matter. She's new. Okay? You're new to the ship. So you can't just bark, indiscriminately at people. Period. Then he's like, pardon me? Oh, Captain. Yeah, that's what I thought. And he's like, look, I'm trying to get my tea on. Oh, well, I programmed 7 new herbs and spices for you. Really? Really?
Wait a minute. Big Sexy. I see the hole you're digging for yourself, and I'm going to help.
There's no hole. There is no hole.
I'm going to throw you a shovel. Now, I may not be able to point to anything specific. If I sit here and take 5 minutes, I'm sure I could find a character. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that there hasn't been a male character who spotted off at the mouth indiscriminately, and it was perceived as being okay. My point being is that I question why we would. I wonder would we even question Daren being just very forceful about this critical experiment and not knowing that Captain Picard entered. Had she known it was him, she wouldn't have spoken like that. But she's just like, she's passionate about her work.
I'm not saying she shouldn't be.
But,
I'm saying you are new to this ship.
Right.
Okay? And you're taking over in the middle of the night, all these things going on. Somebody walks in and you want to start barking as the new guy? No. You are new. You don't know who you're talking to. And it's like, I'm the captain here. Look at the pips. Okay?
Davette, what do you think? What do you think? I think that's unfair.
Actually, again, I think I'm more in line with him on this one. And I'll tell you, let me tell you why, though. It's, I understand her intensity and her dedication and her, especially that whole, get in or get out kind of thing. For one thing, lock the door or put a sign. I mean, do people not have signs in that century? That's like critical experiment, or you just lock the door and say, I'm sorry, you may not enter because we are in the middle of an experiment.
But she said she said clearly that it was 3 a.m. She didn't expect people to be walking about.
That's true, and I understand that. But it's not like this is a ship that runs 24/7. Somebody's on duty 24/7. It's entirely possible that somebody could walk into that area of the ship, or somebody who works in there, or something. You know what I'm saying? I think that it could have been really easy for her to keep that from happening. But all of that aside, her rudeness aside, that's okay. I don't have a problem with it. Really. I mean, it's like, I do think that lots of, new guy or not, I mean, that's just her personality. She says what's on her mind. I don't have a problem with that. I do, though, have a problem with the categorization in this particular case of sexual harassment. Mm-hmm. I do not believe that this falls into that area. Now, normally you could say, because of all the things you said, yes, there was no coercion, there was no pressure, there was none of that. And even his position as captain wasn't one where, it did not appear that she felt like she had to do anything other than do her job for the captain. There was nothing like that. So none of that was there. And there was nothing even implied, but the relationship came to be because of her advances. That he came in just to complain about this stellar cartography experiment, screwing around with what he was trying to do or whatever. And she was like, yeah. Oh, by the way, Earl Grey, hey, have some tea. Do you like that? What do you do? You play music? Hey, so do I. We should play together. I mean,
are those advances?
All of that.
Those are advances?
Those are advances. Friendly advances.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing to say, that they were sexual. I mean, nothing about her manner gave that, but they were very friendly, very pleasant. Mm-hmm. And then from there, their relationship grew from friendly to romantic.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a natural progression. That's why I say no harassment. There was no pressure there. It was just a natural adult relationship.
There's no pressure there. I agree. The pressure comes when she felt like she had to leave.
And again, I'm going to go with Big Sexy on this. It was a decision that they both made. I'm also going to say this. It was lazy writing. This is the kind of thing that happened, and it doesn't happen anymore because you have series now that have several episodes or even a season or even 2 seasons for relationships and things like that to grow. But back then, even when Next Generation was on, and until very recently, if a main character fell in love with a special guest, that special guest died or left.
That's right.
You couldn't, because they were not going to write her in to be a regular on the show. Right. It just wasn't going to happen. Right. So, I mean, I used to think about this when I was a kid watching The Big Valley. The show The Big Valley had these 4 handsome brothers, 3 eventually, but it started off with 4 handsome brothers, all single, all running this ranch with their mom and their gorgeous sister. And anytime a woman fell in love with any one of those boys, she died or she left town.
got to go.
You know, she was like I always said, do not fall in love with one of those brothers. You're dying. It's like, you're just going to be dead. So this is what happened. It happened on Next Generation. You saw it several times. It was always going to happen because that's how they structured the series. But to me, again, lazy writing. Let's break some ground here. Why don't we have her come back occasionally? They did it with Vash, right? So, but it's okay. They wanted to show the captain falling in love with this wonderful woman who, again, I don't think she was all that, but he fell in love with her. I didn't.
She wasn't.
I mean, I was watching it and was like, this is lazy writing. They gave her everything that he would want. Classy attitude, and she's a redhead, reddish auburn hair. She's a musician. She appreciates him, and she's into stuff that he finds fascinating. And so they basically constructed this mate for Picard, and then took that mate, held it over fire, and said, okay, choose your job or your mate. And so he's like, I'm going to have to choose my job on this one. You know, of course he is, because that's Picard. He's totally dedicated to his career. But we also know that Picard is very, very much affected by love, in particular, love of his family. And in this case, this woman that he happened to fall in love with. That's his weakness. That's his Achilles heel. You remember when his nephew died? It was like, was it his nephew? Yeah, his nephew.
In Generations? In
Generations. It practically disabled him.
Yeah.
He was so bereft. He could barely function. And so I think you have something like some kind of indicator of that in this. He was like, cannot see past, he couldn't at that point anyway, see past the idea that he might end up having to make that decision again. And I think part of that is knowing that he would make that decision again.
Okay, so let me ask you, so what is your bottom line on that scene? Are you saying that scene played out? I know you said it was lazy writing. I just want to bottom line this a little bit. What is your take on that scene, though?
I just think that it wasn't harassment. I think it was, I can't really say anything else without criticizing the fact that they wrote it that way, but that was the way that they were going to write it. There was no way they were going to keep her on the show.
How would you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
How would I resolve it?
Well, how would that final denouement have played out if you were the showrunner?
I wouldn't have had it be a go back and forth between the two of them discussing it. I would have had her come back from the planet. Uh-huh. And when there was a line where he said, you must have blamed me at the one point.
Yes.
It was like, and she says, no, she said, well, maybe a little, but then I ultimately felt bad because I knew you would blame yourself. Right. And at that point, I would have diverged from the script and said, and I couldn't see putting you in that position again. And I wouldn't want to blame you again. And so I know you can't leave the ship, but I can. You know, I can do my job anywhere. And I will, because I never want. Yeah, but
I think you're hitting on something that I could possibly come your direction. Rather than Picard just, it seems a little pompous that when she says you could resign your commission, he just like laughs, not laughs, but like
right,
smirks.
Yeah, that's like
I would, you touched on something that I could get on board with. I like what you just laid out there. And Picard says, well, I don't want you to leave. I found the love of my life, blah, blah, blah. And she says, I have to. And so we get a little bit of comeuppance for Picard. And she leaves. Here's what I'm saying. If she has to leave the ship, which I think is dastardly that they make her have to leave, because I'm sure she's worked hard to get to that position. If she has to leave, she is, in regards to the power dynamic, she's leaving with a little bit of power and Picard is left a little bereft. Because as it is, Picard's going to get over her, as you all both said, and he's still going to be captain of the starship. She's going to be looking for a commission elsewhere. So I would have liked that. That would have been a great, kudos, well done. That would have been a great way to end that episode, where we see a broken Picard who is left without the love of his life.
Broken over her. Try again.
Well, I don't think he would be. I think he would feel something, but I just think.
Of course he
would.
But
yeah.
No.
He says that Big Sexy. The writing is there. I finally found someone. I've never shared my music with someone before, but I've shared it with you. That is a once in a lifetime find of a paramour there. So for her to leave, at least she's leaving on her terms, and Picard has to deal with it, as opposed
to
I think. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Well, that's the way it's written now. Picard is in a position of power.
I just think that no, because she says there's the line. She does say that I'll put in for a transfer, and I think it could have been a stronger.
I think she says that because I know she does.
Yeah, she does.
But my contention is she says that because she feels in a box. She has no other choice. I think she would much prefer to be there, but she feels like, well,
no.
I think so. You don't work your ass off to get to the Enterprise and then say, "Oh, I'll just leave."
This woman is a strong woman.
She would say it if she felt it.
Absolutely. I think she made the decision. It just wasn't as well written as it could have been to kind of indicate that she probably knew that going in to the discussion. I'd almost venture to say that she made up her mind before she walked in, but they didn't write it that way, so there's no way. But I think that, she's not... This isn't a woman who gets pressured into doing anything. I think, some might call her pushy, some might call her bossy. I call her just a very strong woman who knows her mind. And he's attracted to women like that. He was attracted to Beverly. He's attracted to Vosh. He's always been attracted to strong women. And this just happens to be one that he really was in tune with. Really in tune with. You know,
it's funny you say he's attracted to strong women. That's why I didn't really buy that relationship. I don't want to go on a tangent on this, but that's why I didn't buy that relationship with the woman in Insurrection. Who was his bland...
Which woman in Insurrection?
You mean Alfred Woodard?
Insurrection, not First Contact.
Okay.
Oh, Alfred Woodard.
She was the Yeah, shoot, man. Give me Alfred Woodard any day. Yeah. I'm saying the woman, I forget if she was with she was one of the Baku. And he has a relationship with her. You don't know one of the
Oh, I can't remember, but because I try to put that movie out of my mind.
She was as bland as vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
But let me throw this out there. So, I believe, if I understand this correctly, you both are saying that there was no sexual harassment, right?
No.
Because they were both willing participants?
I think two people can be willing participants and there still be harassment.
Right.
I think it can be... it's hard, but I mean, yeah, I think it's possible. It's happened. But no, not in this case. No, I don't think there was harassment.
Well, let me ask you this. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Was that a case of sexual harassment?
Totally different.
Was that a case of sexual harassment?
Totally different.
Explain.
And I'm going to say because, I know everyone says, well, she was 21. She's an adult. She was a child, really. And he
Not
was...
Legally, she wasn't.
And he was most powerful. No, legally is totally different. How old are you? 21, 22. I thought I was grown too, but I wasn't. And I think you're talking about the president of the United States versus the captain of a ship and a woman who is his contemporary.
I don't know. The captain of a starship, to me, I'd say you could make the equivalency of the president of the United States. He's in command of that universe, the universe of that starship.
No, that he answers to people. The president doesn't answer to anybody. He's the ultimate. I mean, maybe to Congress and the people, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, there is
it's like he's at the top level of the government, the top level. there's the executive branch. Maybe it's with the two other branches, judiciary and legislative, but ultimately, the president, that's the person we say, okay, we will follow your lead for the most part, unless you're crazy like the current one. So but with Picard, you're talking about two contemporaries. These are two people, these are two grown-ups. This is not some girl fresh out of the academy who is in awe of the legend of Jean-Luc Picard. This is a woman who, barely blinks when he walks into the room with her. I mean, she's not like genuflecting or going, "Oh my God, Captain, I'm so sorry." No, she's not impressed. She's just doing her thing. No, this is totally different. Whereas with Lewinsky and the president, yes, it was consensual. Yes, you can make the argument that she wasn't doing anything she didn't want to do. I believe that, but I just believe that there are, that particular situation, there was a lot of manipulation happening. And as much as I admire Bill Clinton on a number of levels, he was not doing good when he encouraged that relationship or those encounters. He must have known the impression that he was making on her.
Well, it could go either way. You do raise a good point that her age and being fascinated by the president. I think I could arguably say you're still talking about a person in power and a subordinate, and which is what you have with Picard and Daren. Big Sexy, what do you weigh in on that? On what I've just introduced?
Again, Q, you're not going to like it, but I'm in complete agreement with Davette. Now, granted, Bill Clinton was, leader of the free world, and Miss Lewinsky was just a little knucklehead intern.
Well, why should she gotta be a knucklehead? Don't call her.
Whoa. She was so incredibly young. They were not on the same, levels by any reach of the imagination. She thought it was more than it was because of her youth. Mm-hmm. And Bill was like, let me just do this little something here. And now it's a problem. And the thing is, I don't think Bill ever went up to her and said, "Look, I'm the boss here. You're going to do X, Y, Z." No. Did he, exercise judgment? No, he did not. Bill was just like most men. He saw opportunity, thought he could get away with it, and did it. But it does not rise to the level of harassment, no.
So you're saying
bad judgment all day long.
No sexual harassment between those two either?
No, I'm sorry, we do diverge. We have the same definition, but I call that harassment. Yes. It's right there on the edge, but I think that the implication, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the president knew what was real and what wasn't, and what was going on in his position. I don't think Monica Lewinsky knew. She was more of a girl who's like totally bedazzled by this very powerful man, and probably having some kind of girl-like dreams that, I don't know, maybe he really likes me. Maybe, who knows where I might be, that happens. But he knew different. This was never going to be something like she might have been dreaming about. So I just think that in that particular case, someone is taking advantage of someone else. That is some part of the definition of harassment. He was taking
under
advantage.
That premise, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because he knew it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, but she didn't.
And she didn't. Based on that premise, I can see your point. But at the end of the day, when I think about that whole thing, I still think, and this is a little off center, if Linda Tripp had kept her mouth shut and protected her friend's confidence, this could have been, handled a whole different way.
Okay, well, we don't want to get into the particulars of.
You brought it up.
Well, no, I brought right. I'm not trying to introduce. Yeah. I'm not trying to relitigate. You like that, right? I'm not trying to relitigate that. All of the evidence or all of the what do you call it? The tort.
Yeah.
I'll give it a rescue, please.
Of that case, I'm a frustrated lawyer. I'm sorry.
You're half.
Can I
Yes.
Can I just make a point, and not
Please.
about Lewinsky and company. I just wanted to make this point about Picard and what's her face.
Sure. What's her face? You're the woman on the panel.
Yeah,
No,
you mean, what's her face?
I mean, I'm sorry though, but she was. Look, they didn't. This was not a three-dimensional character as written. Like I said, this was a love doll for Picard. This was not they did not write her. Well, the actress did as much as I think she could with the role, although, yeah, she did as much as she could with the role as written. But I mean, there is some, if you look at it, and there's just some terrible things about it. It was like, they really didn't try very hard. They just gave us something that they thought, yes, Picard can follow. She even looks like Beverly. I'm sorry, her hair is darker red, but there's a scene where Beverly is examining her after she's done something to her arm, which is really just a reason to get in there and talk to Beverly about Picard. But she looks like Beverly. Their hair is similarly cut. Hers is just darker. Their noses are the same shape. They have both of them have a very reserved kind of New England-y feel to them, that kind of patrician quality, If you look at the two of them together, it's really spooky. It's like they said, we want somebody who's kind of like Beverly, only who likes music and finds the same stuff that he finds fascinating. So there's that. But the thing is,
wait, let me just jump in here real quick, and I'll let you finish. I think you are making an argument that it makes sense that they did that, because that would be the thing that would push Picard over to her. Because, okay, let's say Picard, and I don't see why this wouldn't be the case, he deep down has a love for Beverly. Well, to have this woman who he can requite his love with, unlike with Beverly per se, it makes more sense that they would cast someone that looks like Beverly.
I think that's very, I think it kind of went into the whole, how they drew the character. And I don't know whether that was actually like the producer's idea of what he would like, but yeah, I would say that was accurate, because the scene that where she's examining her, the way they shot it, you're looking at Beverly's face over her shoulder, over what's her name's shoulder. Right. And you see the two of them almost side by side comparisons. And that's why I started going, oh my God, look at that. They look almost alike. And you see Beverly having dinner with Picard before the concert, and they're like talking and having a decent time. And then he brings up the stellar cartography, blah, blah, blah. And you can tell Beverly's getting bored, and he knows she's getting bored. And he said, yeah, you wouldn't find this fascinating. It's like, so it's almost like, take Beverly away, put the girl in, and go, Nella, put her there. And it's like, now everything's happy. It's just, it's really
I don't get, well, hey, you're entitled to that opinion. I don't see that at all. I think Nella is completely a three-dimensional character, because we see so many different aspects of her. We see her bravery, we see her passion, we see her intellect, we see her talent for music, we see her
we see that plot device and this plot device and this plot device. We don't know anything about her. We don't know anything about her except what Picard likes about her. Her bravery, her musicianship, her brain, her, all of that.
What more do you need to know? What more do you need?
The stuff that he doesn't like about her. We need to know something about her that just, one of the things about when you see relationships on screen, that whole thing about sparks flying, it's like initially there's some head butting, there's because opposites attract. All of those cliches are very true to a certain extent. It was like when you see two people, I was watching the scene where they're having dinner, the two of them, and they're sitting at the table, and it's like they're already an old married couple. They're just sitting there, there's no passion. We get to see them kiss once, twice, and they just, there's no chemistry. There's nothing there. They're sitting at the table, and they're just like, it's almost like he might as well be reading the paper and smoking a pipe, and she might as well just be, talking, he's not listening. Yes, there's some affection there, and they wrote that in, but there's no, the kind of passion, the kind of love that he's talking about, sacrifice, he couldn't bring himself to sacrifice. It's so calm in there. There's really very little that's fun in their relationship. And I got to tell you something. I used to hate the pairing of him and Vosh because I just thought, she's everything that he hates. But if they could have found like a middle ground between those two women, then he might have actually had. And actually, Beverly's very close to that. But there was just she's just too perfect for him. She might as well have been a bot. It's like he went in and programmed something on, in the holodeck. Okay, make her a pianist and she likes the stars and blah, 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 blah. Push a button, go in and have dinner.
Well, maybe I'm speaking for myself. I don't think I am, but I think when a budding romance kicks off, you always put your best face forward. So that's why there was no conflict. Seinfeld, Big Sexy. You know this scene, I'm sure, where Jerry's dating a new girl and she says, "Oh, there's a side." There's no side. Oh, there's a side. And he says to George, he says to George, thanks, George. I wasn't planning on showing her that side for another 3 months. There's some truth to that. So I don't know. I think you're being unfair. And plus these are two very now. Picard is French, we know, but he's British through and through, and she has that. As you characterize her very well. That patrician, love that word, patrician New Englander type of aloofness. So I think they are perfectly. They're not the type of people that are going to be.
Just thinking about it.
They're not the type of people that are going to be like running around chasing each other. He's slapping her on the butt and she's kissing him on the cheek and. They're not going to be doing that. That's not them. They're very staid.
We need to know because Picard has. I mean,
like Picard. Another characterization of Picard that I've never liked is his love of Dixon Hill. That's not Picard.
But he loves that.
I know, but that's horrible writing. That's not his character. That makes no sense. And what I'm saying is, for them to be cavorting and PDA and all that stuff, that's not Picard, and that's not this woman.
Now, I think Dixon Hill, and he makes a lot of sense, because Dixon is a detective, and Picard loves a mystery more than anything. That's why he's into, what is it, with the rocks and the...
Archaeology?
Not archaeology. Well, that's not the word. Yeah, is it archaeology? That he likes to go and find artifacts, old artifacts and stuff. Right, okay. So... I think that's one of the things. That is a character trait that is, that's why he likes being aboard the Enterprise. He likes exploring more than he likes battle. He loves a mystery. He really does.
He's not the kind of person that goes on, and this was in like the first 2 seasons. I can't remember what episode, but he's not, I think it's The Big Goodbye or something like that. He's not the kind of guy that would go on a holiday and program something where he's going to talk like, yeah, I'm talking to the dame over here. That's not Picard. That's not. Stop it. Stop.
No, it's cute.
No.
Q. At the end of the day.
And wait. Hold on. I'll let you have the floor, but let me finish. I hate that whole Dixon Hill persona. They try to reimagine it in First Contact. It was miserable there, and then so the reason that they stopped doing Dixon Hill because they were like, well, wait a minute, Data and that episode that we did with him and Geordi playing. Holmes and Watson, that got a lot of ratings. All right, so forget. Let's put that attribute on Data, not Picard. They should have realized that was a stupid thing to give him. He's not that. That's not what he reads. Moby Dick. He doesn't read cheap noir novels. As a matter of fact, one of my other favorite episodes, Hotel Royale. He has to read that novel and transmit how the novel progresses to the away team that's trapped in that hotel. And he sits there and he puts his head in his hands like, I gotta read this crap. And it's a noir novel. So it's inconsistent. That Dixon Hill thing, I hated that. So my point being is that, and then I'll let you, and then I want to hear what you have to say, Big Sexy. My point is that I think they played it, maybe they could have loosened them up, and I did stipulate to the fact that I could see where she was a little uptight. I did see that, but I think for the most part they played them the way those characters were supposed to be played. Big Sexy, what did you want to say?
Now, Captain, you are overmatched here.
What?
Davette and I, we both have doctorates. Thus, you kind of in over your head here.
Oh, so you're elitist. You're elitist.
Oh, right. Whoa. I did not say that. All I am doing is making an observation here. That's all.
You're saying your doctorate trumps my bachelor's degree?
By far.
That makes you more intellectual than me.
No.
Oh, not at all, Q. Not at all.
No.
Right. Okay.
I say no. I say absolutely not.
Wow.
But no. I'm not even. No, I would never imply anything like that. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I would.
Yeah, we got some bougies running around
here. I would say, though, in this particular case, you can analyze this one backwards and forwards, but I just think there's just no case for harassment. Now, if you say, I'm trying to think of an instance that it could be on the Enterprise in Next Generation. I think they were really careful. Oh, it's one thing, too, to note that is like there's no regulation about this. And he says that. He said there's no regulation that says we can't date. But I just think that's interesting, too, to say that there is no regulation because it seems like there should be because of this very thing. Because if that way you kind of keep people from exploring too far before something could possibly happen. But then again, then you would have to force people to resign their commissions.
And how do you define that, too?
How they define the relationship?
Yeah, how do you define... I'm sure they were using the word, fraternizing.
Yeah.
But how do you know when it's really fraternizing?
It's interesting what you just brought up about there need to be regulations. I'll put this in the show notes. This is from Reddit, which I'm familiar with that site, but I guess it's like you can post anything up you want and like a blog site. This more is like say again? It's more like what?
No, I think it's more like a discussion bulletin type of thing. But anyway.
I'm looking at Reddit, and this is it says Daystrom Institute. Mm-hmm. And it says the real lesson, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says the real lesson in TNG's lessons that Starfleet needs policies regarding workplace romance. And this is from You Don't Throw Me in a Box. That's the person's identity. And they write, I was shocked while rewatching TNG's lessons earlier today. Lieutenant Commander Daren joins the Enterprise, Starfleet's flagship, and is able to do groundbreaking research because of it. I couldn't have put that better. She ultimately loses this opportunity because of her relationship with Captain Picard. Her career is negatively impacted because of this relationship. Essentially, and I'm jumping ahead, essentially she has to give up the massive opportunity of serving on the Enterprise because the captain does not feel comfortable having her serve under her because of a relationship with her that he chose to pursue. Now, that's a little strong. She went into it willingly, so they kind of overstate that a little bit. All right.
Where was she negatively impacted?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Because she had to leave the ship.
But see, that's the thing. Let
me just finish this off first. It says here, Starfleet is clearly in need of better regulations. This is to your point, Davette. Concerning romantic relationships among its officers. It seems rather strange that none exist, considering that Picard and Daren can't have been the first to experience this problem, and as Worf and Dax showed, were not the last. You were going to say?
Well, I was going to say the negative impact to me is doesn't seem to be any indication of that. She's giving up anything other than being around him, because I think that because her job can be done. You can chart the stars from any ship. And again, if she needed to be a particular place and the Enterprise happened to be there, then she could be there for a short time anyway, while she was doing it. I don't see... This doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know that being on the Enterprise is a coup, I guess. I mean, it's a... What's the right word?
It looks good on a damn resume.
Feather.
It looks good on a damn resume. Come on.
And she's going to be coming away with stellar, points in her record and all of this stuff because of what she did. But I mean, think about this. I want to think about it. Picard wouldn't really have needed to ask her to leave. That's why I was saying the way it was written was wrong, is because she would have left because of her own thoughts while she was on the planet. And also the other thing about it is that there were parts of this that were so not Picard in terms of behavior. Like when the away teams are beamed back aboard and they said, we found some more survivors, and he goes down to the transporter room.
Uh-huh.
There are like 7 or 8 people that file by him that he doesn't even look at.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
No,
that's
he
not true.
No,
doesn't.
it's true.
I was like,
No, it's
he
not.
doesn't.
I know
He doesn't look at him.
I know the scene you're talking. He looks at them all, trying to see if he can see.
But the point is, he doesn't say, anything to them. I mean, their captain is standing there. These people have almost lost their lives, obeying his orders, and he doesn't say anything like, thank you all, let's get you guys to, sick bay. Nothing. They just file by him.
That's because they limping and they burn it to get me to sick bay.
Well, then transport him directly to sick bay. Another thing, but I digress.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that are wrong with the episode, which is why I had the B-. But there were some nice things about it too.
I'm gonna make this argument again. I like what this guy wrote. I don't know if it's a female or a male, but he says she's able to do groundbreaking research on the Enterprise, and that sounds right. That there's research that she can do under the auspices of the Enterprise that she might not be able to conduct elsewhere. And he says her career is negatively impacted. And I say again, when you ask me what's the negative impact, and I said, well, she has to leave the Enterprise, and you balked at that. Why else would you say that Riker stayed on the Enterprise for 7 years? As opposed
we
to
know he
his
had
own
issues. We know he had issues. They even discussed why he was.
He loved the Enterprise.
He loved the Enterprise. She didn't say that. She liked being on. She basically had just come on board the Enterprise.
You saying Riker?
No, I think that she just, I don't think she would have necessarily had a lot of time to form an attachment to anybody. She was there such a short time. I mean, and she just got with the captain and some people to play music with. But I think if she, no, seriously, I think if she wanted to stay, she would have made a case to stay. I think she wanted to go after this. If she had never gotten together with the captain, and it's a big ship, it's a possibility they never would have interacted. But they did. And this was the result. And she made a decision to leave. Or they both made a decision that it wouldn't work. It wasn't going to work. And he wasn't going to be in a position to he wasn't going to be able to put her in danger again. Which, again, I think is bad writing. I think he would have. I just think he wouldn't have wanted to. I think he could have even said, I couldn't do this again. And she said, yes, you could. And you would. You would have. You will. You'll put people in danger because it's your job. And I don't want to be, I don't want to even be in a position where I might have caused you to hesitate. I mean, there are so many ways they could have written that last scene. But I get because that last scene was only like, I don't know, a handful of lines. They should have gone about it a little differently. And then this discussion really wouldn't even be able to happen because I think that scene is the one that causes the question, is this harassment? Is this, or not harassment, or maybe harassment, but this is unfair that she has to leave. They wrote it in such a way that, the discussion is had. I think it would have been better if they had made it clear that, even if he had said, are you leaving because of me? She's like, no, I'm leaving because of me. Give her the power. She's a powerful woman.
Well,
she does it all the way through.
I like that writing. I like if he said, if Picard said, I hate to think that you are giving up your post because of me. And she says, no. And even if she said, called him Jean-Luc. No, Jean-Luc, I'm doing it because of me. Then at least I feel like she's empowered still. I feel like she is she is bereft of all power. That's just how I saw it.
Well,
because you can't convince me that you don't work to a point where you get assigned to the Enterprise without busting your ass, and it's unbelievable to me that you would give it up so willingly.
Well, I'm going to say partial blame goes to the actress. I don't want to do that because I know acting it's hard. It is hard.
You're saying
but
she doesn't
I just
say
think
her
that
lines
she didn't have much of a range. She just didn't.
Wow.
I don't know what she's done before or since, but I think she just didn't have, whether it was the director, it was partially writing, it was partially the whole premise, and it was partially due to the actress. Some of her words could have been given a little more weight to help tell that around. All the way through it, I was watching her feeling like she's flattened. She wasn't. Her smiles were so tiny. There was not a lot of enthusiasm for anything, that even the stuff that she was really excited about. And when she was talking about Picard, when he was playing his little flute, she would, "Oh, that is good. That is so good. Try it again. Oh my goodness." It was almost like she was a teacher encouraging a student. Yes,
Good. Very good. Now let's have a little fun with it. You try. Improvise around the melody. Anything you want. Good. That's wonderful. Keep going.
That was very good, Jean-Luc. Let's try it again. It felt like that. No, I'm serious.
You're gonna make me put you in an airlock now. Come on.
Watch it again. But she's. I'm not gonna. Like I said, I'm not gonna put total blame on the actress. I'm just saying the interpretation was probably a little. And they didn't help. The way they did her hair, the way everything about it was just so restrained. It was hard to believe that he fell in love so hard with her.
Oh my God. All right, so after you've trashed the actress, let's give her a name, shall we?
Okay. Let me look. And I didn't trash her.
Her name is Wendy Hughes.
Wendy Hughes.
Wendy, if you're listening, I thought you did a fantastic job.
Oh man.
You're the only one.
Hey, nothing but respect for actresses, but Oh wow, okay, Wendy Hughes, I see. Australian. Oh, they should let her keep her accent. Anyway.
Well, that might have been a part of it. Maybe she wasn't trained well enough to do the English accent, and affected her, as you see it, affected her performance.
Oh,
much like what was the woman's name? Genevieve Bujold.
Yes.
Well, you just see, there you go again, man.
She sucked.
And I hate to say, she passed away. Actually, this actress.
Oh, Wendy Hughes did.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just looked her up on IMDb.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What else you're there? What else has she done?
She was in My Brilliant Career. Let's see. Mostly British offerings, it looks like.
All right.
So Paradise Road?
Nope.
Return to Eden. Yeah. Now I feel bad. But everybody has.
Wow.
You have good days and you have bad days, and I just don't think this was. It maybe didn't show her off to her best.
I know I'm going to sound like a jerk, but looking at these photos, they really did a good job on her.
What?
Oh, wow.
Stop! Oh my God! Stop now.
Mr. Progressive Q strikes again.
Wow.
No, I'm seeing some unflattering photos here. She looks totally different in these other photos.
Well, if it's the same actress, just make sure it's the same actress. But I think it is.
I went Wendy Hughes images, and Wow. Okay.
You know, that's a very common name. So
No, it's her.
it's her. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was recently she died because she was also in an episode of Miss Fisher's. There's a murder mystery show called Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. And apparently she was on, and I watch that all the time, so I'll go back and look.
Here's one. I think this was an American film production, Happy New Year, with Peter Falk and Charles Durning. Remember they had all those movies that were based on holidays in the last 10 or 15 years?
Okay.
They had a Happy New Year's. They had New Year's. They had Valentine's Day. And the thing with these movies, they were all terrible from what I understand. They had a bunch of A-list stars that were in them.
Okay.
Yeah, but she was in Happy New Year. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. She had a.
Actually, no, this was in 1987, so no, this is not the same series. Wow, okay. So that's interesting. She did an American movie in 1987, and then it seems like that's all she did across the ocean. She did a Homicide: Life on the Street. Wow. Okay.
All right.
Well, okay.
All right.
Counselors,
Yeah.
would you like to make any, now we're doing our episode of The Drumhead. I've kind of, been on this legal theme. So, do you have any closing arguments you'd like to make before I make my decision?
I think the decision's been made, Q.
Closing arguments, Counselor.
Closing.
I waived my closing argument.
I'll have to say, I don't think I can make any more points any stronger than I have.
Correct.
I'll stipulate to what we got in front of us.
I shall rule. You're both
Okay.
wrong, I'm right. There we go. Okay, yeah. That's for you. Hey, now I'm pouring out some drink on the sidewalk. That's for you, Wendy.
Oh, Lord.
That's for you,
Wendy.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, all right, we're coming into Space Dock. This was another epic. Guys, let me know what you think. Let me know. Am I like what was that poem? Was it Robert Frost? Unlike what Robert Frost wrote, am I an island? Am I an island?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
No one, neither one of you, with y'all doctors, you don't even know what poem I'm talking about.
No
Right.
man is an island.
Well, see, Q, unlike you, we doctorates were putting in the work to get our doctorates and not horsing around with Robert Frost. Okay.
And see, I think that's why
was an English
I think you've hit on why attorneys are so hated.
Oh man, see, I never even practiced.
Hey.
Because you're all about the bucks, the ambulance chasing. You're not about art. You're not about creativity. You're not about music. You're not. See, you don't know
I have
the
a
poetry.
degree in theater and English. Okay, my bachelor's in theater.
I
and
said
English.
about putting in the work to get the doctorate, which means
There we
putting in the work for your education. Get out my face.
All right, well, so
Anyway,
get some poetry in your life. It'll mellow you out. Anyway, so let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with our esteemed Commander First Officer Davette See? Do you agree with our science officer? I'm giving him that title right now at the end of the show. Big
You're
Sexy.
right now.
What's that?
Nothing.
See that?
Nothing.
All right, don't let me call the Makos on you. Now see, Davette, if you'd watched Enterprise, you'd know what that reference is.
yeah, I should go back and watch.
The Makos were going to paint my car? What?
The Makos, they were basically straight up military. They were like the what are those? What's that elite team, military team?
SEALs?
They're like the SEALs of Starfleet. Anyway, don't let me call them on you. Okay, just chill. All right. So let me know what you guys think. I think this is an important topic in today's world as we're living now. Things are changing rapidly. You have Me Too, you have Time's Up. And I think it's just amazing to me. It's interesting to me how these things just start on a lark. Not a lark, but like a moment. A moment in time. I mean, there was that one moment where all the dominoes started falling down. I think it was with it started with the Bill Cosby thing, with Hannibal Buress doing the joke about Cosby on stage back in 2015, I think it was. And just to see where we were then, and then you add the young lady Tamara. What was
Tarana Burke?
Tarana.
Mm-hmm.
Tarana Burke, who
she started the Me Too movement back in 2000, like mid 2000s.
Mid 2000s, okay. Well, it sure got some steam around that time that I just mentioned. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation. We disagree on some things, but the fact is, what this country needs more of is having the conversation. Having the conversation, not necessarily agreeing, but having the conversation. So that's why I want you to let me know what you think. You can catch us on iTunes, subscribe, download. You can go to Facebook and search under Red Shirts, a Star Trek podcast. Leave your comments there. You can go to Twitter at RedShirt1701. Where else are we, Big Sexy? Help me out. We're all over the place.
Are we on Instagram yet?
We're on Instagram. Instagram.
I need to follow you.
Red Shirt 1701. I think that's what we are. Red Shirt 1701. All right. So with that, we are in recess. You like that, right? We're in recess. All right, everyone. See you later. Peace.
Well, I got to hear your premise. It's wrong. I'm glad I got to hear it.
Okay, listen. I'm not really in a good place right now. I don't need jokes. Okay. All right, I'm rolling now. God damn it.
Q, why so jumpy? Try some decaf.
I think that's a Snickers commercial, isn't it? All right, let me just take a breath here.
Woosah.
Okay, now it's funny to me now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the third leg of this voyage with our new... Oh, God. I'm sorry, guys, seriously. Okay, I'm going to get through this. Red Shirts is not endorsed by Paramount Pictures, Viacom, or CBS. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. Star Trek, the Star Trek logo, and all names, pictures, and audio of Star Trek characters are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and/or copyright holders.